Most people can multiply their reading speed without losing comprehension. The promise sounds efficient, scientific, and irresistible. We're going to test it. We'll separate the gains you can bank from the hype that breaks the mind's limits, and we'll leave you with a way to choose the right mode for the job. This matters now because information pours in from every direction. If you can turn pages faster without dropping meaning, you win hours each week. The fair version of the claim says practice and strategy can raise speed somewhat while retaining the gist. The bold version says you can double or triple speed on any text with no comprehension cost. The myth spread because it offers status and relief. Courses sell dramatic numbers, apps flash timers, and success stories travel faster than sober footnotes. Let's begin with mechanisms. Reading is not just seeing words, it's orchestrating eye movements and building meaning in working memory. Your eyes advance in small jumps called saccades and often hop backward in regressions to resolve ambiguity. Working memory threads phrases together and ties them to what you already know. Those constraints set a soft ceiling. You can learn to reduce wasteful regressions and widen your perceptual span, but you still must move through the words your brain needs to construct sense. Now the first evidence beat. For typical adults reading general prose, comfortable comprehension rides around about 200 to 300 words per minute. That range shifts with vocabulary, topic familiarity, and fatigue. It climbs with practice, but the rise is gradual, not explosive. Second, skimming and previewing help, but they help by changing the goal. Skimming means you target the gist, topic sentences, headings, and signal phrases, while accepting that you'll miss many details. Previewing sets a scaffold. You scan the title, abstract, section heads, figures, and summary to build a mental outline before you read in sequence. Together they boost efficiency because they prime attention. You steer scarce working memory toward important parts and starve the filler. Third, selective attention can be trained. You learn to notice contrast words like however, therefore, and in contrast, which mark turns in the author's argument. You also learn to ignore decorative prose when the task is factual recall. That selective drop is not a loss. It is a choice aligned with purpose. Fourth, depth collapses when text demands integration. Dense science, legal clauses, poetry with layered metaphors, and any writing that hides premises forces you to slow down. In those cases, doubling speed often halves inference. You can push your eyes, but you can't push complex logic through a narrow working memory without paying a price. Fifth, replications weigh the boldest promises. Trials of rapid serial visual presentation, the technique that flashes one word at a time, can force speed, yet comprehension, and recall usually sag because you lose the ability to glance back and chunk phrases naturally. Other studies compare self-declared speed readers to experienced readers. As speed rises beyond roughly 400 to 500 words per minute on normal prose, detail questions and inference questions both drop for most readers. That pattern tells a simple story. You can trade speed for gist or keep depth at modest speed. You can't have both at extreme rates across all genres. Counterexamples clarify what's possible. Experts in a domain seem to read faster, but the mechanism is knowledge, not magic. They recognize terminology as single chunks and predict where the argument goes, which means they allocate attention efficiently. The speed comes from familiarity that shrinks cognitive load, not from skipping comprehension. Another counterexample is rereading. On a second pass, you move quicker with no loss because the scaffold already exists. Again, the gain comes from knowledge, not a universal hack. Now where strategies genuinely shine. Skimming excels when you triage articles, gather background, or compare multiple sources to decide what deserves deep reading. Previewing shines when you face long reports or textbook chapters. A quick map at the start and a summary glance at the end frame what matters, so the middle reads with purpose. Selective attention is perfect for task-driven reading. If you need a deadline, a number, a conclusion, you zoom toward it and ignore the rest with minimal guilt. Where depth collapses is just as clear. Abstract algebra proofs, constitutional law, dense philosophy, deep technical manuals, and any text that hides landmines in footnotes punish speed. Cutting regressions there removes the very checks that protect meaning. You feel fast, you become wrong. Let's separate correlation and causation in one line. People who read a lot tend to read faster and recall more. The cause is sustained practice and richer knowledge, not a single trick that multiplies speed without effort. What remains uncertain lies in the edges. Researchers still argue about how far training can stretch perceptual span, how much subvocalization limits speed for different readers, and which cues best predict when a paragraph deserves a full stop. As of recent studies, modest speed increases with steady comprehension appear when training emphasizes vocabulary, structure awareness, and discipline against needless backtracking. Breakthrough multipliers remain rare outside narrow tasks or familiar topics. Here's a simple self-test for retention you can run tonight. Pick 2 pages of unfamiliar nonfiction and set a stopwatch. Read page 1 at your fast mode, then close it and write 3 sentences that capture the core argument and 3 specific facts or examples. Read page 2 at your careful mode, then do the same exercise. Compare not just how much you wrote, but how precise your sentences feel a day later without rereading. Precision after delay is the honest scorecard. You can refine the test by swapping genres. Try a concept-dense paper, a narrative feature, and an instruction manual because the cost of speed varies with text type. Also test retrieval format. If your work needs exact figures or legal phrasing, your threshold for acceptable loss is low. If you only need gist, you can accept higher loss. Now a mental model with 3 modes. Search mode hunts for a fact, skim mode gathers gist, study mode builds durable understanding with notes and pauses. Search feels fast but sees little outside the target. Skim sees the road's route, not the mile markers. Study parks the car and walks the terrain. Match the mode to the goal. You don't run a museum at a sprint and expect to remember the paintings. If you still want to raise speed, train the levers that move honestly. Build vocabulary in your field so fewer words feel new. Practice structural cues so you can spot pivots, claims, and evidence quickly. Strengthen background knowledge to reduce working memory load. Use a pointer to steady eye movements on easy text, but let yourself regress when logic wobbles. Taking a strategic step back is not failure, it is quality control. The strongest alternative explanation says new technology can bypass biological limits. It can help presentation, reduce distractions, and highlight structure, but it cannot remove the need to integrate meaning when sentences carry weight. In short, you can multiply speed for triage and gist, you can grow modestly faster for general reading with practice, but you cannot universally double or triple speed on demanding text and keep the same comprehension. The truth is less flashy and more useful. Know what you need, choose the right mode, and read that way on purpose. The distilled takeaway is simple. Speed is a tool, comprehension is the job. Match your reading mode to your goal. Subscribe for more myth versus reality, and tell us which learning shortcut you want tested next.